My name is Marnie and I'm the owner and creator of Treat Beauty. And today I want to teach you how to make my world famous bath truffles. And just a little bit about my bath truffles. I launched my bath truffles over 15 years ago out of my kitchen, and Treat's bath truffles were the very first bath truffles that there were. I mean, if you Google bath truffles nowadays, you will see that there are tons of bath truffles on YouTube and Google, but Treat made the very first bath truffles, and the reason that I made them is because I have eczema and I love taking warm baths to soothe my eczema, and I was using a bath oil from my doctor that I found out was just straight mineral oil, which was kind of gross. So I wanted to create something that was warm and soothing to my eczema and sensitive skin while I took a warm bath. Now, what is a bath truffle? A bath truffle is a chocolate truffle shaped bath melt that's made of natural butters and oils that you drop in your bath to soothe your sensitive skin. So today I want to teach you how to make them. And so let's just get started. The first ingredient in my bath truffles that I like to use is cocoa butter, and I have a pound of cocoa butter here, and I'm going to link where to buy them for you guys. And then I also use shea butter in my bath truffles, and I bought a pound of shea butter as well, although we're not going to use all the shea butter. We're going to use all the cocoa butter, but we're not going to use all of the shea butter. The reason being is because I want them to harden up to be a little bit harder than if we were to use more shea butter. It just makes it easier to pop them out of the chocolate molds than if you just use more shea butter. And the cocoa butter that we're going to use is we're going to use natural cocoa butter. When you buy cocoa butter, you can buy natural or deodorized cocoa butter, and you want to be sure and buy the natural cocoa butter because the natural cocoa butter retains that chocolatey, natural chocolatey scent that I love. If you get the deodorized cocoa butter, that scent has been basically refined out of the cocoa butter. So it just doesn't smell as cocoa buttery. It doesn't retain that same chocolate, which I really like and enjoy. So we're gonna use the natural, non-deodorized cocoa butter, could be the way that it's described. And the same with shea butter. We also want the natural shea butter as well. And then we are going to, because I'm about to launch Treat's Chocolate Mint Jumbo Organic Lip Balms for Valentine's Day, I want to make the bath truffle in a chocolate mint flavor. So we are also going to be using Spearmint essential oil. So, and you can use peppermint as well. I just don't have any peppermint here at the moment, so I decided to go with spearmint, which I really love the combination of the spearmint oil with the cocoa butter. So let's just get started. And you also are going to need a double boiler. And for those of you that don't know what that is, it's already on the stove, it's a lot, but if you have a saucepan, and then a double boiler is something that you can stick inside of the saucepan to melt your butters and your oils, and you don't have to they won't get wet. It's just, this is the extent of my cooking skills, so bear with me, please. I wanted to save a little bit of this cocoa butter, so I'm just going to set a little bit aside before I pour it into the double boiler. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm pouring the cocoa butter in. And you just want to, so like I said, I got 1 pound of cocoa butter, which is 16 ounces. And the molds, the truffle molds that we're going to be using will make approximately a 0.5, so a half an ounce truffle each. From my experience, they're actually more like 0.65, but that's okay. So if we have 16 ounces of cocoa butter, that's gonna make us approximately 32 bath truffles. And I have molds to make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have enough to make 30. So we're gonna wanna just make sure we don't get too crazy with that. So you have the cocoa butter melting. The next ingredient you're gonna want to add to your mix is the shea butter. So, and like I said, I'm not going to use equal amounts. I'm just kind of going to eye it with the shea butter. I'm just going to put some in. I want the shea butter in because I know how ultra moisturizing it is. But I'm not going to put as much shea butter. So you can measure it out. You could use like 1/3 of a pound if you wanted to really be specific. But I am just going to go ahead and just kind of eye it and just put in as much as I eye. So, and it's probably going to only end up being about, you know, 1/8 of a pound or so. So you drop in your shea butter into your double boiler with your cocoa butter, and then you're just going to want to let them both melt. This is a really easy thing that you could do. You can make these with your kids. They would make great Valentine's gifts. You can, they're perfect. The bath truffles that we're going to make are going to be rather large, so you could easily cut them in 1/2 or 1/4. So they just make great gifts. They keep them around the house. You can have them forever. If you're not a bath person, they make great things to use in the shower. You just rub them on and they melt, and it's almost like a lotion for your shower. So, sorry. And yes, a little bit about the bath truffle. When I launched Treat, I wanted to create, like I said, something for my dry, sensitive skin and eczema, and that was just about it. So I just started experimenting. My birthday is on Halloween, and so I was like, what am I going to name these bath truffles? And I came up with the name Treat. So that's how I launched my brand, Treat Beauty, was making them in my kitchen, and soon I was selling them to department stores and boutiques all over the United States. So that's the origin of bath truffle. So while this is melting, and I have it on an 8, so it's like a medium-high heat. And while it's melting, it's going to melt fairly quickly. So we're going to start to get our essential oil ready. You can honestly use any kind of essential oil that you like. I really love an orange essential oil, or like I said, a spearmint or a peppermint. Both, I feel like, go really, really well with the chocolatey scent of the cocoa truffle. So my butters are melting. And a good rule of thumb when you're scenting something is 1 to 2% fragrance or essential oil to the rest of your recipe. So since I have 16 ounces here in my pound of cocoa butter, and then approximately 3 more ounces of shea butter, that's about a tablespoon is about 1% of the 16 ounces. So I'm just gonna eye it. You can do it however you want. But like I said, a good rule of thumb is 1 to 2%. So I would start at 1%. Essential oils tend to be rather strong, and so I would just start at 1% and scent it from there. My shea butter is actually taking a little longer to melt than I anticipated, but that's okay. Oh, you guys are gonna laugh at me, but I don't even have, this is how bad of a cook I am, and how I don't even know how the cocoa butter melted, maybe because I already had my thing hot, but I didn't even have the right burner on. I had the front burner on, not the back burner. So maybe we're gonna get somewhere. So needless to say, you don't need to be an amazing cook, because I cannot cook anything, but I can make truffles. So, and I'm going to link you where to get the molds. There's a lot of different molds that you can use. I especially like these molds. They're bonbon molds from Kitchen Crafts. And the reason that I like them so much is because they're large. And when you've made as many truffles as I have and tried to pop out as many truffles as I have out of these molds, you learn from experience that these are the best ones. There's lots of different options. I haven't used all of them, to be honest, because I started my bath truffles in my kitchen over 15 years ago, and I'm sure the chocolate molds have come a long way since then, but I'm still going to use my trusty old bonbon molds that I love. These aren't old, like, they're new. I ordered them from Kitchen Crafts just for this project, but yes. So that's the molds you're going to use, and you're going to want to lay out your molds just on your countertop or wherever you're going to be doing this. And like I said, I know I'm going to be making 30 or more truffles, so I'm just going to lay out all of these molds, and let's see here. So it's finally, my shea butter is melting right along. It smells just like chocolate. So it smells super good already. That's the wonderful thing about this, is there's not a lot to do to it. You can't really mess it up. Like, they're just gonna be delicious no matter what you do. So yeah, while that is going on, I am going to go ahead and I'm gonna pour my mint, spearmint, or peppermint. You can use essential oil into the mix. And like I said, that doesn't have to be perfect. It calls for a tablespoon. I think this might even be a teaspoon thing that I'm using, but I just know, like, it's like just like with anything, you just really want to scent it to your preference. You start small, and then as you get more comfortable, or as you can smell it, then you can decide exactly how much you want to add. So this is just taking a little longer than I anticipated because I added more shea butter than I usually do, but that's okay. I really wanted to have these be I wanted some nice shea butter in there, because shea butter is just so good at soothing dry, sensitive skin. I really, really love cocoa butter and shea butter. I actually ordered some aloe butter for this experiment, or for this, just because I wanted to try it, but actually, you know what? Let's go ahead. I'm gonna mix a little bit in just because I bought it. It sounds fun, it sounds delicious. So, you can use any kind of butters that you like. You definitely want to use a cocoa butter base. And the reason being is because it is the hardest butter, and you really want it to harden up for you so you can pop these out of the molds. So you just want to make sure you don't use, like if you were just to use straight shea butter or straight aloe butter, it's definitely going to be harder for you to get these out of the molds. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit of aloe butter too, because why not? I have it here, it's delicious, and why the heck not, right? So, just to give you another quick recap, I have cocoa butter, non-deodorized cocoa butter. I have shea butter, and you can get ultra refined shea butter if you want. It really doesn't matter. Most part, your shea butter is going to be, the natural shea butter is going to be a little bit refined. So, and I can smell that it smells delicious, and it smells pretty much exactly the way that I want it. Like I said, if you want to, you could easily go up to 2% on your fragrance, but you don't have to. So, you can keep it at 1 to 2%. And you're just going to continue to wait for your butters to melt. And then, once your butters have melted, you are going to, so another thing that you want to have is I have this glass Pyrex dish, and the reason I like this is because it has the little pour spout on the end, so I can just pour my butters into the glass thingy and they're easy to pour into your molds that way. So that's what I'm going to do next. So you just want to pour your butter into your dish. And then you just go ahead and pour them into the molds. I feel like I should take my camera and help show you guys more of this. So I'm going to see if I can do this. But let's see here. So that's all you do, is you just pour into each of the molds your butter. And it's that simple. You can use a little, you don't need to fill them all the way up. You can, so that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to pour the butter into all the molds. And then what you want to do next, the only other thing you really want is you want some parchment wax paper, which I don't have any of, so I don't know what I'm going to do. I might just use some tin foil, because you want to cover these. Each one of your molds, you want to cover them, and then you can stack them. If you have them covered, you can kind of gently lay them on top of each other, and you're going to want to stick them in the fridge. And I usually leave mine overnight, but you can check on them and you can see. And in a few hours, you will have the most delicious cocoa butter bath melts in the world. So thank you for joining me, you guys, and that's it. that's how you make my world famous cocoa butter bath truffles. Thanks for joining me.